Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and a alternative trusty sidekick.
Hello.
The trusty sidekick is still doing his exams, so it's just us for now. Anyway, we're doing an unboxing video on the Theban Armoured Hoplites from the lovely chaps over at Victrix. Theban Hoplites. What do you think of Theban Hoplites?
Look kind of cool.
Yeah, okay. Right, we'll go straight on to the actual figures. So if you've seen any of our other figures on Greeks, it's pretty much the same thing recycled again. You get the same shields, the same weapons, the same figures, the same dories, and the same arms, the same shield covers. The only thing different about this box is you get the Theban helmet. I'll just turn it around that way. And that's the Theban helmet there, and a slightly interesting cloak. Different way of having the cloak on, which is quite cool. And the obligatory trumpet. So that is the only thing different in this box as to the other figures. So I'm not going to go into a massive amount of detail on the actual figures. I'll just say that they're the same as the other figures. They're pretty interchangeable, or they're entirely interchangeable. They're relatively easy to convert if you want to convert them. Only problem I would say is that there's not much in the way of poses. They're all basically stood up or slightly moving forwards.
Yeah.
Or at ease. They're pretty dull poses, but yeah. Given that a lot of people will be basing their figures, several figures to a base, it kind of makes sense to do that.
Highly detailed though.
Oh yeah, they're well detailed. They're very easy to paint as well, so that's a good thing considering how many have been painting recently.
Yeah, I know.
So onto the Thebans themselves. Obviously I'll go into a lot more history with them when we do the actual videos of the armies, which will be shortly. I've already got quite a few things painted up, but there's no point doing the history on this actual box. Rough overview. Thebans lived in Thebes, funnily enough. That was the name of the place where they lived. It's a big city on a big open plain, not particularly defensible. They really considered themselves to be the best Greeks, but then again, all the city-states thought they were the best state. They do get a bad reputation, mainly because the people who write about the Thebans were people who'd been to war with the Thebans. So if you read Herodotus, he has a very, very low opinion of the Thebans. At the Battle of Thermopylae, the Thebans were, when the Greek army ran away and Leonidas stayed with his 300 Spartans to hold a rear guard so the Persian cavalry wouldn't be able to get through the Hellespont and then the hot gates. The idea was to hold a rear guard to try and hold the Persians as long as possible, because had the cavalry got through, they would have been able to hunt down and roll up the Greek army as it fled. So that last day of fighting leading to Leonidas' death saved the Greek army.
Yeah.
On the battlefield, the Thespians decided to stay behind too, because they had this mental disability which made them stay in the battlefield and fight to the last man. And the Thebans stayed in the battlefield too because they were forced to. The Spartans said they'd kill them if they tried to leave. So Leonidas told all the Greeks, just go back to your states, let people know that the Greeks are coming, that the Persians are coming, save yourselves. Except you Theban guys, you're going to die. You're going to stay here and die because we don't like you. And the Thebans actually changed sides during the battle, which shows you just what a bunch of backstabbing, evil turncoats they actually were. Thebes backed the Persians during the Persian War and were defeated at Plataea when the Persian army was defeated. Although the Thebans came to a bad, sticky end. Many of them were taken prisoner and handed over to the Corinthians, because the Corinthians were the ones least likely to murder them. And the Corinthians decided to just execute them all. So that was useful. I think they were expecting them not to do that, but I think the Corinthians at that point had had enough as well. So then after that, there was just endless warfare in Greece. Every 5 to 10 years, Thebes would go to war with one person or another. During the Peloponnesian War, they sided with the Spartans, funnily enough, because the Spartans hated them.
Better to be on side with them than not.
Well, yeah. So they sided with the Spartans. That turned out alright for the Thebans. Later on, the Spartans and Thebans went to war again, and then they decided not to fight anymore. They said, we're going to sign a peace treaty. And the idea was that they would sign this peace treaty, and then Greece would not go to war with itself again. Everyone would be friends. And the Athenians said, we sign on behalf of, or we sign for ourselves, and our allies will sign independently. And the Corinthians, they signed, and the Plataeans signed, and the Euboeans signed, and the Spartans signed. But when the Spartans signed, they said, we sign for ourselves and our allied states, the Peloponnesian states, which are the states south of Sparta.
Yeah.
And the Thebans said, we signed for our state, but we'll let our allies swear an oath themselves. Right? And so the Theban allies then swore their own oaths. And then they said, right, so tomorrow morning we'll sign it and we'll go to bed. We'll go to bed and we'll sign it, have a party. So they had a party, they went to bed, and the next morning the Thebans got up and said, you know what? We've decided that because the Spartans signed for all their allies, we should sign for all our allies, instead of letting them sign themselves.
Right.
And the Spartans said, you can't do that, you've already done it, you've already sworn an oath not to go to war. And so have all your allies, have all independently sworn an oath. But the Thebans said, no, we need to sign an oath. And so they had a battle instead.
Right. Okay.
Which resulted in a Theban victory.
Oh.
Probably because the Spartans had sent most of their troops home. And there's a sort of famous bit that is considered really famous, where at the battle, you put your elite troops on the right flank. And what the Thebans did, they put their elite troops on the left flank so they could fight the Spartan elite troops. And that's considered a massively amazing thing that they did. Although anyone could have done that, there was the reason you don't do it is because the reason you don't have your elite units fighting on the same flank is because usually they end up just the two groups of guys just hitting each other all day and nothing happens.
Okay.
It was just luck that half the Spartans had wandered off home, that the elite Theban troops were able to actually beat the Spartans. But normally when two elite units of Hoplites meet each other, all they do is push each other up and down a battlefield for 2 hours, and then they get tired, and then nothing happens. That's why you don't put your elite troops against each other. Also, you usually have all your peltases and stuff on one side, on the left side. So the elite troops are the best troops to deal with them having things thrown at them.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't that inspired. It was just lucky on the day. And it was probably the only way the Thebans could win.
Yeah.
What else to say? Later on, much later actually, around about 370 BC, the Thebans raised a special elite band called the Sacred Brotherhood, I think it was called.
Okay.
And they were all boyfriends, they were all husbands, they were all married to each other, so they were partners.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's Thebans.
Yeah.
And they were quite famous at the time, and they would stay in the field and fight to the death, which is exactly what they did do. They were massacred by the Macedonians.
Right.
Because they stayed in the field and fought to the death. Which enabled the Macedonians to overrun Thebes, because their elite troops all died. Yeah, well done. Clever thinking. I'd do what the Spartans did and intersperse elite soldiers between the ranks. That's more logical. But who cares? Anyway, interesting shields. They've got the shield.
Yeah.
What's the shield?
It's a club of Hercules.
Oh, that's smart ass.
They also used the Sphinx, which was a cat's body, a woman's head, and with wings.
A
You're
flying.
interested? Very interesting. It's very strange, but interesting.
Yeah, the Greeks were weird, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. The Sphinx was in Thebes.
Yes.
There was a statue of it in Thebes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very odd cat body, woman's head and wings. I don't know where they got that from, but yeah, we'll go with it.
Well, the Athenians had the chimera, which was which had a sort of head putting that coming out of its back, which is really weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's not how a chimera will work.
No.
I've built several, so I know they know.
Yeah, they're just weird. They're just weird people.
Yeah. Thebes was founded. Their foundation myth. Thebes was founded by a chap called Cadmus.
Right.
He was a demigod or god or something, and his sister got kidnapped and dragged away, and so he went searching for his sister, and he couldn't find her because he was obviously not that good a god. And he found Thebes. He said, "Oh, this is a nice place. I like this place. Can I live here?" And the god said, "Well, you can live there, but there's a cave with a dragon in it.
Oh, okay.
So you have to go and fight the dragon."
Right.
And so he fought the dragon, and he killed the dragon, and that was the Hoplites were also the dragon guard, or the dragon Draco. That's something in Greek or Latin.
Yeah.
But it's basically dragon soldiers. They call themselves the dragon soldiers.
Oh, okay.
Other people just called them a bunch of yellow cowards who sided with the Persians.
You've got to side with somebody, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, you haven't got to side with the Persians. Well, the Thracians sided with the Persians.
Yeah.
Because they were invaded by the Persians.
With them.
Yeah, they were invaded by the Persians. They were forced.
You want to be invaded by them, so you may as well side with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, clever thinking.
But yeah, the Thebans do get a really bad reputation, as I said, because people who write about the Thebans tended to be people who lived in countries that were at war with Thebes. So Herodotus has got nothing nice to say about the Thebans. He considers them snivelling little snakes, which is probably quite unfair. They probably had a good reason for backing with the Persians. For a start, the Persians were fighting the people they hated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is a bonus.
Yeah.
And also the Thebans were allowed to keep their own government.
Oh, okay.
The deal with the Persia was that basically Thebes would technically become a satrap of the Persian Empire, but it would maintain its power, and its king would be a satrap rather than have a Persian satrap brought in. So they cut a really good deal. The Persians offered the same deal to the Spartans.
I bet they turned it down.
They threw the guy down a well.
Yeah. Don't mess with the Spartans.
Yeah, they tried the same with the Athenians as well, but not very hard because
Got all these men oiled up and everything.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with these guys.
They already seriously disliked the Athenians, so the Athenians threw their emissaries off a cliff.
Yeah. Well, that's generally what they used to do. It's their sport of the day.
Throwing people off cliffs was an Athenian thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they enjoyed doing.
Why not?
Also, they had problems. This isn't the Theban thing; it's the Athenian thing. The Athenians had difficulty executing people.
Why?
Well, because in a democracy, it was a new first official democracy. Even though there were lots of other democracies around. And the Persians actually forcibly set up democracies across the Persian Empire, which we're not going to mention because apparently Athens was the first democracy, so we're not going to mention the other democracies. Exactly. They couldn't execute people democratically.
Right.
Because technically, because they didn't have a king, they didn't have the legal right to kill someone. So what they used to do, they used to sentence people to death and then ask them to either take poison, which they couldn't force them to. But the rest of it was very nice if you could take poison, that'd be nice. Or just leave them in prison if they refused to die, and eventually they'd let them out.
Oh, okay.
Which they often did. Miltiades, the guy who led the Theban army at Thermopylae, he actually spent about 5 years in prison, under sentence of death.
Right.
Because he refused to leave. Because if he left, he'd been a tyrant of the Persians. He'd ruled Mysia, and he was a particularly unpleasant man.
Right.
And oh god, it's a long story, but
Yeah.
he ended up falling
We're
out
on
with
topic as well.
Yes, he fell out with the Persians, fled to Athens,
Yeah.
and the Athenians put him in prison and sentenced him to death for
Yeah.
being a satrap. And then, because of the way the democracy worked, he ended up being elected leader of the army,
Interesting.
even though he was in prison. So it's mad. But yeah, Thebans. What do you think of Thebans? Out of all the Greek city-states, what do you think of Thebes?
To be honest, I don't think they look very attractive. If I'm being honest, I mean, I know attractive isn't attractive. I mean,
The uniform, you mean?
The uniform
because
doesn't
they use
the uniform doesn't look inspiring. It looks like they're wearing a skirt, which is
Well,
not
all
like,
Greeks did
yeah,
that.
but not the same as what the Greeks had worn. Because these look like young boys that just dressed up for day.
That's just the artwork.
I know.
No, the helmet, the
That's
leaf
not a
helmet
helmet.
is it's actually a armoured version of a Greek hat.
Right.
The Spartans wore the same for a very short period of time. For about 50 years that they adopted this type of helmet. 30 years.
Okay.
And then they went back to the Corinthian helmet. Probably because they were fighting these guys, and these guys had this helmet, and it was confusing on the battlefield. The Thebans tended to wear orange or rust red.
Yeah.
So the Spartans wore red crimson cloaks, and so when it was raining, you couldn't tell the difference between the soldiers because they were both wearing the same helmet.
Oh, okay.
So I assume that's why the Spartans dropped that particular helmet.
Yeah.
This is the Spartan version of the helmet.
Yeah.
If I can zoom in, zoom in on the helmet. That's the Spartan version of the helmet. Which is the name of the helmet is actually named after the hat. It is a type of hat, and one idea that historians have is that the helmet was designed to fit over the hat.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a bit dumb.
Yeah, a little bit. But,
Because you used to stuff the helmet with horsehair, so a hat wouldn't do much additional armour. Horsehair
really.
is far better at stopping
yeah.
damage. But yeah, so there could have been a bit of confusion on the battlefield. That's only me guessing.
Yeah.
Look, I know a lot about human nature, and I put a lot of that into my thoughts. And I do think that's probably one of the reasons behind it. But
Yeah, probably.
I also mentioned the Thebans tended to use the long sword. Well, long, not that long, about 30 centimeters long. This sword here is the long sword, and that's the axe style sword. So one difference between this and the other boxes is you do get two of them as opposed to a small one and a larger one of the Zephyron.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do get the longer sword,
Yeah.
which is different. The Spartans used the short sword, the sort of tiny little sword. I'll show you a Spartan. There we go. That's the No, it's okay.
On that way. Side of there. You got it.
Yeah.
You survived.
Yeah, he jumped for it.
Well built.
Right, this is the Spartan sword. It's basically a Roman gladius, although slightly more leaf-shaped. It was a double-edged sword, and it was used for stabbing at close quarters. It was no more than 12 inches long, and well, some were 18 inches. Most finds are about 12 inches.
Yeah.
And because it was quite a short sword, and the Spartans used it just like the Romans did. They would get up really close and go stab, 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 stab.
Yeah.
And stab you in the face, stab you in the leg, and you could also hack with
stab you everywhere. Yeah.
Whereas the Athenians tended to go for the Athenian style sword, which is this one here.
Yeah, it's a
Which
bit
is-
like an axie.
It's like a
Got
big,
a curve to it, hasn't it?
yeah, it's a big version of the Gurkha sword. It's
Yeah.
quite heavy at the end, and it's actually a type of axe, not a sword.
Yeah, it does look that way. Yeah.
And that was not for stabbing; it was for hacking.
Hacking. Yeah.
So you would
exactly.
hack the enemy's arm off,
Yeah.
hack his leg off. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys, the Thebans tended to go for the longer version of the Spartan sword,
Right.
which was still a was it the Zephos?
Something. Yeah.
Those ones are compass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason, we don't really know the reason for that. It was just the style of Theban fighting. They preferred a longer blade
Yeah.
to the short stabbing blade that the Spartans used, which in the open field would actually give the Thebans an advantage because they actually had more reach with the sword. Stuff happens an extra 6 to 12 inches away from you,
Yeah.
and that could be the difference between life or death.
Gosh, yeah.
Whereas the Spartans tended to they like to get really up close to you. They
Yeah.
go right in your face and then stab you with a sword. Yeah, there's just different styles of combat.
Yeah.
But you do also get the Athenian style blade, and if you want to cut one of the hands off and stick this hand on, you do get the short blade as well.
Yeah.
But what I would do, what I have done, is I bought a multitude of boxes, and then I just swap over the swords and stuff so they have the right equipment.
Yeah.
Because you end up with lots of spares.
Yeah,
and
you
can
do.
But that's just me. I'm not sure what you want to do with your figures. But if you do buy a couple of boxes, you're probably going to be able to get all the swords from one box and put them in another box.
Yeah.
So you can do that yourself. And it also depends how historically accurate you really care about being. They're only 28mm figures after all. Most people aren't going to look that closely.
No.
You have to
probably
be.
not.
Yeah.
You have to be an expert to know what you're looking at.
Well, not an expert, just general knowledge. But you have to be bothered to know.
Yeah.
And who cares, really?
Yeah.
Most people can't tell the difference between a Greek and a Greek.
No,
So-
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's the end of the video. Unless you've got any questions. The small one gives me questions.
No, you'd already asked me a question and answered it.
Yeah.
Actually, you asked me several questions and I've answered them.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
smart ass. This is why I do it with the small one, because he doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
And you actually know stuff, so
Yeah.
it's not fair.
Can't help being a brain box.
You shouldn't, blow your own trumpet so much.
I'm not.
Right. Right, that's the end of the video.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching. This has been Imperator Vespasian and his other trusty sidekick.
Yeah.
We're supposed to do some other stuff, but who cares? So, thank you very much for watching, and look out for new videos in the future. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Bye.